Hola, buenas noches. Soy la abogada Brittany James y estoy aquí en vivo para contestar sus preguntas sobre inmigración. Si tienen algunas preguntas de inmigración, pueden escribir sus preguntas en los comentarios aquí en Facebook, en TikTok o en Instagram, porque estoy vivo ahorita en los tres lados. Pero recuerda que puedo dar aquí información general. Si tienen algunas preguntas en general, yo puedo tratar de explicar cómo funciona, contestar sus preguntas, pero si quiere una opinión legal sobre su situación específica, debe llamarnos para programar la consulta, o nosotros podemos hablar en privado sobre su situación y puedo ver qué podemos hacer por usted. Pero si tiene preguntas en generales, puede poner sus preguntas aquí. Hola Juan, ¿cómo estás? Si tiene algunas preguntas, escribe sus preguntas, por favor. Voy a estar contestando preguntas en español o inglés, o puede poner las preguntas en cualquier idioma. I'm going to be answering immigration questions in both English and Spanish. So if you have any questions in English, you can go ahead and write your questions, or in Spanish. And remember that in this setting, I can give general information. I really am not able to give a full legal opinion on what you should do in your case without having a personal consultation where we can talk about all of the details and I can really explore what the best options are for you. But I can give some general information to help you understand your immigration situation a little bit better. But to really get advice on what you should do in your situation, you would need to call to schedule a consultation. And our phone number, if you want to call and schedule a consultation, is 772-539-8400. And you can go ahead and write your questions, Jamila. You can write whatever immigration questions you have, and I can try to answer them for you live. And if you want to schedule a consultation with me, though, then you can contact us at our office number. You can send us a text message if you want to schedule a consultation, or you can call us. My office is not open right now, but you can call us tomorrow and we can schedule a consultation for you, or you can send us a message. Y sí, Juan, por la consulta, cobramos 200 por la consulta, y eso incluye 2 citas, una cita primero con mi paralegal, donde ella hace muchísimas preguntas sobre todo su vida, todo su historial de inmigración, de sus trabajos, de sus relaciones. Ella hace muchas preguntas y escribe todas las respuestas, y yo puedo revisar eso antes de la consulta conmigo. Cuando nosotros tenemos la consulta, podemos realmente enfocar más en cuáles son las opciones que yo veo en su caso. Puedo hacer más preguntas si hay algo que estoy preocupado de su caso, y puedo dar mi opinión legal en qué podemos hacer por usted. Si quiere programar una consulta conmigo, puede llamarnos al 772-539-8400. Pero si tiene algunas preguntas en general, puede poner sus preguntas en los comentarios y puedo tratar de contestar sus preguntas hoy. Okay, and Gabe, I see your question here. So your question is, I just want to know about the process if a citizen marries someone who has Daca, and how long does that take? So there's not always just one general process for when someone has Daca and marries a U.S. citizen. I would need to know more details about their case, whether they entered legally or not, more information about their entries, also, of course, their criminal record. But in general, when someone's married to a U.S. citizen, there are various different ways that they could get their residency. If the person is here in the U.S., if they entered legally, then it's generally pretty easy for them to apply for adjustment of status here. If they if they had a petition prior to April 30th of 2001, then it is also generally much easier for them to get their residency. But if they entered without inspection, if they entered what's called illegally, then their options would usually be either requesting, and that's if they only had one entry to the U.S., also requesting what's called a provisional waiver, where they would have to go to an interview at the embassy abroad, and they could ask for a waiver of admissibility for their unlawful presence here prior to their departure to go to the interview. Another option is, if you could show that there was any type of abuse in the relationship. And it doesn't have to be physical abuse. It could also be psychological, emotional abuse, some type of control, using the person's immigration status against them. If you can show that, then it is pretty straightforward, and it's an option for almost anyone who is married to a citizen or a resident to possibly try to apply for their work permit here and possibly their residency, depending on the details of their case. So those are some of the things that I would need to know to really say what would be the best option for them. And that type of option that I was talking about, it could even possibly be available sometimes when someone has a deportation, when they have multiple entries, what's called the permanent bar. So that is a very powerful option that we always like to look into to see if there was any type of abuse or control involved in the interview. Yes, and Gabe, Embassy Abroad is going back to their home country after getting the provisional waiver approved. That's correct. But in order to see really what would be the best option for them, if you're referring to yourself, is to schedule a consultation so that we can go over in detail your whole case and really confirm what's going to be the best option, whether we can find a way to apply for the adjustment of status here, or whether it would have to be through the embassy abroad outside of the United States. All right, and Valley Paredes, your question, once you get your 2-year conditional resident card, does it take 3 years from then to apply for citizenship, or is it 3 years from the time you get the 10-year card? So I believe you're referring to when someone is married to a U.S. citizen and they get the conditional green card because they had been married for less than 2 years at the time of obtaining their residency. So as long as they are still living together with their U.S. citizen spouse and married, then it would be 3 years from the time of getting that first green card. So 3 years from the time of getting the conditional green card is when they would generally be eligible to apply for citizenship, as long as they meet all of the other requirements. And even if that I-751, the petition to remove the conditions, is still pending, they can still go ahead and apply for their citizenship while that's pending. Okay, and remember, if you have any other questions, go ahead and type your questions in the comments in either English or Spanish. Puede poner todas sus preguntas de inmigración en español o en inglés, en cualquiera de los dos idiomas. Y ahorita, mientras que estoy esperando por más preguntas, quiero explicar algo importante. Y yo estoy hablando sobre eso por varios días ahorita, pero es algo muy, muy importante. Y eso es sobre el programa de Daca. Probablemente todos que están mirando, probablemente saben qué es el programa de Daca. Sí, es por personas que entran al país antes de los 16 años y que fueran a la escuela aquí o que ahorita están estudiando aquí. También hay otros requisitos que tenía que entrar antes de el 15 de junio del año 2007. También no puede tener mal récord criminal. Pero este programa de Daca, nosotros pensamos que probablemente van a regresar de nuevo, como era en el principio, donde van a aceptar nuevas aplicaciones. Yo estoy mirando este caso, siguiendo este caso de un corte federal, donde el juez está considerando si va a ordenar inmigración de aceptar nuevas aplicaciones de Daca. Básicamente, después de la decisión de la Corte Suprema, un oficial, el secretario de DHS, hizo un memorándum, un escrito diciendo que ellos no iban a hacer lo que la Corte Suprema dijo, que no iban a aceptar nuevas aplicaciones y también que las renovaciones van a ser por solamente 1 año. Pero este juez federal dijo que este oficial, este secretario de inmigración, que él no tenía la autorización de hacer eso. Y creo que era como hace 2 días, esta semana, Inmigración respondió, o como el gobierno respondió por inmigración, diciendo que básicamente ellos estuvieron en acuerdo con eso. que eso no era correcto y que ellos deben quitar esa nueva regla que hizo él y todo deben regresar en como era antes, en 2012, cuando por Obama y por la Secretaria de Inmigración, cuando ellos empezaron el programa de Daca. So, estamos esperando todavía por el orden del juez para confirmar exactamente qué va a pasar, pero parece que probablemente el programa de Daca sí va a regresar y va a regresar pronto. So, si califica, debe empezar a juntar todas sus pruebas. Si piensa que califica, pero no sabe, puede llamarnos para programar una consulta y podemos ver si va a calificar o no. Y también siempre cuando hacemos una consulta no es sobre solo una cosa. Si quiere hacer la consulta sobre DACA, podemos hablar sobre eso, pero también vamos a tratar de ver si tiene otra opción y especialmente otra opción que es un camino a la residencia, porque eso es realmente lo que queremos ayudar, ¿sí? Nuestra mente es tratar de ayudar de quedar aquí legalmente y especialmente con la residencia o la ciudadanía, si podemos hacer. Ok, so si tiene preguntas sobre eso, si puede llamarnos para programar una consulta. Ok, tengo una pregunta aquí. Ok, la pregunta es en inglés, so déjame contestar en inglés primero. So Denise Cohen, your question, I'm a mother of a U.S. citizen. I was petitioned for from June 2019. My documents are at the NBC. I uploaded all the documents they asked for. Will those documents expire? I am living in Jamaica. So if the National Visa Center, if they already confirmed that they have received all of your documents and that everything is ready and you're just basically in line waiting for that interview in Jamaica, then in general, those documents do not expire. What could expire, though, is the police certificate, and this varies from country to country, but in general, the police certificate that you had to send would only be valid for 1 year. In some countries, it's actually only valid for 6 months. So likely when it comes time to get to your interview, you may have to get a new police certificate, but the other documents do not technically expire, so you shouldn't need to worry about that. Okay, all right, y esta pregunta aquí de Fernando Alejo Amaro. Tuve un problema y por favor, pasé una noche en prisión, todo se arregló y no tuve juicio ni nada. Tengo una cita para renovar mi residencia permanente. Ese tema me puede perjudicar o explicando lo que sucedió, ellos me van a entender, gracias y bendiciones. So, si los cargos fueron tirados y no tenía una convicción, eso normalmente no va a afectar. Si solamente está haciendo la renovación de la residencia, la I-90, realmente ellos no van a preguntar sobre eso. Sí, siempre hacen una cita de huellas donde ellos van a chequear su récord criminal, pero si eso no era una convicción, no debe afectar. So, no pienso que tiene que preocupar de eso, por lo menos por cómo estoy entendiendo lo que está diciendo, okay? Okay, and yes, you can ask questions in either English or Spanish, and I will try to answer as many of your questions as I can. Si puede hacer sus preguntas en inglés o en español, y puedo tratar de contestar más preguntas que puedo, okay? All right, and I have a question here from Edgar. Is it better for my grandfather to petition or my brother that is a citizen? So I don't fully understand your question there. Grandparents cannot petition directly for their grandchildren. There are some very, very limited situations where if your grandfather was a U.S. citizen, maybe he could have possibly passed citizenship down to one of your parents and they could have passed it to you at birth. But that is very rare and most likely not the situation that you're referring to. Now, as far as your brother filing for you, that would depend on, if your brother's a U.S. citizen, yes, siblings that are U.S. citizens can petition for for their siblings. But depending on what country you're from, that could affect how long that petition would take. To give you an example, for people that are from Mexico, and hold on just a moment, I'm going to pull up the visa bulletin so I can give you accurate dates here. So for people that are from Mexico, immigration is working now on petitions from siblings that were filed back in 1998. So when I say working on, that means that they're basically ready to move on to the next step of actually possibly being eligible for their residency, depending on their situation. Now from India, they're working on petitions from 2005, the Philippines working on 2002, China 2006, and for all other countries other than those four, they are working on petitions from 2006. So usually sibling petitions take 14 years or more before the person will actually be eligible to apply for their residency and go to the next step. So if that is your situation, and especially if you're within the United States, then I would definitely recommend that you contact me to schedule a consultation so that we can talk about your situation in more details and try to see if we can find a way to get you a faster option, because a petition from a sibling takes a very long time. And okay, and I'm sorry, now I do see, Edgar, that you had more than one question there, and I missed the first one because they were separate. So the other part of your question that I see was about whether your grandfather, who is a resident, can petition for your mom. I'm so sorry that I missed that because they were separate from each other. So a resident can petition for their unmarried, only for their unmarried children. So technically he could file for your mom, but if your sibling is a US citizen, then that is a much faster option for your mom. Now, how she would be able to actually obtain her residency from that petition would depend on a lot of factors that I would need to go through, as far as whether she's here or not, regarding her entries. So also I would recommend also that she schedules a consultation with an attorney to review all of her options. Okay, and let me see, I have some other questions here on Facebook. Okay, this question is de pregunta de Dennis. Abogada, ¿afecta un delito menor por alcohol? Fue desestimado, no pagó nada de multa, fue por estar en un restaurante, si tiene la visa U y va a aplicar por la residencia. So, tengo que saber más información sobre qué exactamente era el crimen, y también depende en cuándo pasó. Si usted tiene ahorita la visa U y está esperando hasta de cumplir los 3 años para meter la aplicación por la residencia, inmigración sí va a considerar cualquier problema criminal y especialmente problemas que tuve después que su visa U fue aprobada. So, mi recomendación es consultar con un abogado para hablar en más detalle sobre toda su situación y ver qué debe hacer cuando está aplicando por la residencia para tratar de evitar una problema, ¿ok? Pero realmente sí tengo que saber más información. All right, and Itzel Walker says, hi, just wondering about the odds of my husband being able to obtain a green card or some kind of legal status. He recently got the 245I. I believe it's a pardon for entering illegally. However, got denied the Daca 4 years ago due to 2 DUIs from over 10 years ago. We have 2 children together, and he has 2 from a previous relationship. Okay, so for Daca, Daca is always denied when someone has a DUI. So just because the Daca was denied does not necessarily mean that his residency would be denied. If he has 245I, which means that he had a petition prior to April 30th of 2001 and was either present in the United States in December of 2000, or the petition was actually prior to 1997, and if he did not leave the United States after he entered, then he likely would have a pretty straightforward case for applying for his residency. And notwithstanding the DUIs, I would, of course, have to know if he has any other criminal record, if he's had any other issues with immigration. But in general, it looks like he probably has a pretty straightforward case. So if you want to schedule a consultation or to talk about it in more detail, then you can call our office, and I would be happy to go over everything with you and make sure that I don't think that he would have any other issues. Our phone number, again, it's 772-539-8400 if you want to schedule a consultation. Okay. And okay, let me see what other questions I have here. And so I am getting questions. So I'm getting questions from TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. So there are quite a few questions here, especially on TikTok. If you've asked a question and I have not answered it, then you can go ahead and ask again, because it is hard to go back through all the list of all the questions here. So feel free to ask me again if I did not answer. All right, and I have this question from Nulls. I came here when I was 16, about to be 17 in December of 2005. What are my options? So you should call us and schedule a consultation, and we will go through everything with you. Through our consultation process, we will go through any entries that you had to the United States, what happened during your entry, how you crossed the border, whether you were mistreated at that time, who you lived with since you came here, where you've worked since you came here, and details about every single job, and whether you were ever subjected to any type of abuse, whether you ever had any problems at any of your jobs where you were mistreated, where you were not paid properly, where you were threatened. We have a very extensive screening process where we look for any possible options that you have. So based on the information in your question, I could not say exactly what your options are, but if you call us for a consultation, then we can go through everything in our screening and try to see if we can find a good option for you. And again, our phone number is 772-539-8400. All right, and Eunice, your question, I got married with my wife. Should I change my last name now or until we get our case started? That is completely up to you, and you don't have to change your last name if you don't want to. That is a personal decision that you have to make. So you can either do it now or you can do it when you file. All right. Ver qué más preguntas tenemos aquí. Okay, hi Halo. Do I have to be an American citizen to bring my parents here? Yes, to file a petition for your parents to come here with their residency, you do have to be a U.S. citizen. That is correct. All right, and Saiji, if I petition for my husband, but I have PTSD, will he be able to not leave the country? I would really need to know more information there about his situation to see what we can do, but it is very possible. But I would need to talk to you guys and get some more details about his situation and see if we could find a way to argue for him to get his residency here without having to leave. Right, and Salvador Reyes, if my mother's citizenship has been accepted but the offices are closed, is there any update on open? So as far as I'm aware, most, if not all, of the USCIS offices within the United States are open right now. They are operating on a limited basis. They're not scheduling as many appointments as they were before, so everything has slowed down quite a bit. But if she has filed her application, she got the receipt notice, she likely really just needs to wait until they get to her case to processing it. But the offices are open. Okay, Sophanie, what resources are there for someone who is a permanent resident, lived in the U.S. for 20 plus years, but cannot read or write? How do they become a citizen? So in this situation, if the person is over 65 and they have been a resident for at least 20 years, then they are exempt from the English portion of the test. They don't need to do the reading or writing, and they can do a simplified version of the test. Now, if it is someone who is at least 50 years old and they've been a resident for at least 20 years, then they do have to do the regular version of the civics test, but they would also be exempt from the English portion of the test, so they would not need to do the reading or writing, and they could do the test in their native language. The same also if they are at least 55 years old and have been a resident for at least 15 years. So 50 years old, 20 years of residency, 55 years old, 15 years of residency, they can do the test in their native language and no reading or writing, but still have to do the civics test. Over 65 and at least 20 years of residency, then they can do the test in their own language, and they get a simplified version of the test. All right, Jose Dominguez, your question. My mom has been in Mexico for 10 years. That was her punishment, and she did that. Her four sons are citizens. So to confirm and make sure whether your mother would actually be able to come back to the United States with her residency, I would need to know more information from her. So that is a disclaimer there. But in general, if someone was barred from being in the U.S. for 10 years, whether it's because of unlawful presence, because they were here for over a year illegally and left the country, or if it was because of a deportation, or if they had the permanent bar, then yes, in general, after they complete those 10 years abroad, they could apply for their residency to come back to the U.S. So the general process would be that one of her sons could file a petition for her. She would have an interview, and then after the interview, if she did need some type of a waiver, a special permission to re-enter the U.S., which would depend on the details of her case, then they would advise her to do that after the interview. If not, then she could possibly get her residency and come back to the U.S. But in order to confirm that in her specific situation, I would need to know some more information. I would need to have a consultation with her. All right. Oh, Vanessa Ortiz, we have a friend who's in custody right now just for no license, and he has an immigration hold. What can we do? So you can call us and we can do a consultation, screen his situation and see what his options are. And I believe I know who you are. So if this person is local, which I believe that they are local to me, the person that you're referring to, if they do not have any other criminal record, they might get lucky and immigration may decide not to detain them and may process them and release them, especially because of COVID right now. But obviously because of that immigration hold, they do have the risk that immigration will end up detaining them and we'd have to go through a bond process. But what I would recommend is whoever knows the most information about this person, whether that is you or your husband, or yes, that's what I thought, Vanessa. So whether it's you or your husband, or if the person has a close family member, whoever knows the most about them, if they could call our office so that we can go through some questions, or hire me to go do a consultation with him at the jail locally, then we can see what will his options be if he actually gets picked up by immigration. And depending on the details of his case, I may be able to try to get that immigration hold released, but it really depends. So I don't want to give any false hope there. But yeah, I mean, we can definitely look at his situation and see what we can do for him. Okay, so if you guys want to... Okay, so I see you said that your husband only knows a little bit of information. So yeah, I mean, the best thing would be if his family could call us, whoever knows the most, or if someone wants to hire us to do a consultation, I can go meet with him at the jail and talk to him directly. And then we can go from there and see what we can do. Okay, so if you guys want to call us tomorrow, we can talk about it more. Okay. But that's another thing. I know that a lot of you that are watching right now, especially on TikTok and Instagram, are not local. But something that is very important that I want to share with everyone local is that I have heard, and I've also been seeing this. I mean, within the past couple of days, a lot of people have been arrested for driving without a license and have immigration holds. And I was speaking to someone with immigration, and I have found out that apparently locally they are working on a joint operation with Border Patrol, and over the next 2 to 3 months, they will be trying to arrest a lot of people for driving without a license and putting immigration detainers on them, and a lot of people will be getting picked up by immigration. So make sure that you share that with everyone that you know who is local here in Indian River County, Florida. If they do not have a license, they need to be extremely cautious right now. They should always be cautious, but especially right now, they need to be extremely careful. And I'm going to repeat that in Spanish also. Quiero compartir un poquito de información sobre lo que está pasando aquí localmente en el condado de Indian River en Florida. Yo sé que muchos que están mirando eso quizás no están local de nosotros, pero eso es información muy, muy importante que quiero compartir con todos. Yo he escuchado que aquí localmente, en los próximos 2 o 3 meses, inmigración va a estar trabajando muy juntos, muy cerca con los sheriffs, con la policía aquí del condado, y van a estar buscando mucha gente para arrestarlo por manejando sin licencia y también para empezar un proceso de inmigración. Siempre tiene que tener cuidado si no tiene licencia, pero especialmente ahorita, en estos meses, tiene que tener muchísimo cuidado. Me imagino que eso quizás porque ellos saben que todo va a cambiar cuando entre el nuevo presidente, y también el condado aquí tiene un dinero especial para trabajar con inmigración. Tiene que tener muchísimo cuidado. Okay. Porque siempre es mejor para tratar de ayudar a alguien sin estar detenido. Y antes de eso pasa. Si no tiene licencia, tiene que tener mucho cuidado, y si quiere programar una consulta con nosotros para ver qué podemos hacer, puede llamarnos para programar una consulta al 772-539-8400. Okay. También si tiene algunas preguntas, puede poner sus preguntas en los comentarios. And Vanessa, yes, I will be in the office a little bit late because I have an appointment out of the office in the morning, but you can call and speak to Maria in my office or to Kathy, and they can help you, and they can talk to you a little bit more about the situation, get the name of the person, and talk to you about what I can do. And if you guys wanted me to, I could probably even go meet with him at the jail tomorrow. Okay, so call us in the morning, and then we can figure out what we can do for him. Okay. All right. Now, Jenny, I see your question here. How long is it taking to get an appointment for the citizenship? My husband applied in August. So it really just depends on the local office where you live. There's some offices that are probably taking about 4 to 6 months. There's other offices that could be taking closer to a year. So it really depends on your local office. That's something that is hard for me to answer without knowing what office is handling your application. But you can look that up on the USCIS website. There are processing times listed for every office. So if you go in there, you can put in your office, put in that it's an N400 application, and you can get an idea of what the average processing times are right now for your local office there. Okay. All right. Isabel, boyfriend is undocumented and is a DACA recipient. What steps can he take to be a citizen or get a green card? So I would really need to know a lot more information about him to see what options he has. So it would be best that he would schedule a consultation with me so that I can see what I can do for him. But in general, when someone is undocumented, whether they have DACA or not, there's many different options. So we would always look for whether someone was a victim of a crime to possibly qualify for a U visa, whether they were a victim of some type of labor trafficking, whether it was labor trafficking that happened with the Coyotes when they were entering the country, or in their job, or even with someone they were living with. We would also look to see whether they were ever in some type of an abusive relationship, whether it was with their spouse, from their U.S. citizen children to them. Whether he has any fear of returning. I mean, there's many different things that we would evaluate in a consultation. And with the information here, just that he's a DACA recipient, I could not really tell you exactly what option would be the best option for him. And so I would really need to know more information that I can get in a consultation. All right, Carolina, how long do you have to wait to apply for citizenship? Do I have to wait 5 years? So the general rule is after you get your residency, you have to wait 5 years before you can apply for citizenship. If you are married to a U.S. citizen, have been living with your U.S. citizen spouse for at least 3 years, and you're a resident, then you can apply at that point as long as you meet all of the other requirements. So yes, the general rule is 5 years. 3 years if you're married to a U.S. citizen. And technically for either one of those options, you can technically apply up to 3 months early. So if you're applying based on the 5 years, then you can actually apply at 4 years and 9 months. And if you're applying based on 3 years, then you can apply at 2 years, 9 months. Okay. All right, and Alicia, your question, where are you located? Oh, and I got a couple questions. Where are you located? So my office is in Vero Beach, Florida, but because immigration is federal law, I can represent clients in any states in the United States. And then of course, we also have clients outside of the United States who are trying to come to the US. So I can represent anyone, anywhere in regards to US immigration law. So if you want to schedule a consultation with me, you can call my office at 772-539-8400. You can also send us a text message if you want to schedule a consultation, or you can message us on Instagram or Facebook. Okay. All right. Stanley, I see your question here. Would I be able to get DACA if I moved here in 2014 legally? No. For DACA, you have to prove that you entered the United States prior to June 15th, 2007, and that you've continuously been here since then, and also that when you entered in prior to 2007, that you were under the age of 16. So you would not be eligible for DACA if you came to the U.S. in 2014. Of course, we don't know if those requirements may change under President Biden, if he may try to expand the DACA requirements, but under the way that DACA was written, no. All right, Mari, your question, do immigrants that have been deported and enter the U.S. again have any chance to get residency? That is a great question. Yes, of course, it depends on their situation. There's a case-by-case basis, but yes, there sometimes are options for people that have been deported and re-entered to obtain their residency. So if you know someone in that situation, then they should definitely schedule a consultation with an attorney to evaluate their situation. It is sometimes more complicated. The options that are usually available to them are more of the humanitarian side of options for people that have been victims of some type of abuse, but we can often find ways to help people. So yes, they should call us and schedule a consultation, and we can see what we can do to help them. All right, Patsy, husband came 11 years ago. I'm a citizen. He has one entry. Does he have to go back to finish his papers? So in most situations, attorneys would probably say, yes, he does need to go back to his country after doing a provisional waiver process. But if you wanted to schedule a consultation with us, we can talk a little bit more and try to see if we can find a way to apply for his residency here without having to leave. But I would need to know some more information about that. Okay, Citrus Lemon. Can I travel out of the US if I just filled out my N400? So in general, you are able to travel while your N400 application is pending. As far as whether you should be traveling in your specific situation with the pending N400, I would need to know a little bit more information about your entries in the last 5 years to make sure that you're not close to the point of having an issue with too much travel outside of the US. Because when you're doing your N400, you do have to show that in the last 5 years, you've been inside of the United States for at least half of the time, and also that you have not left the United States for more than 6 months at one time. So as long as you have not traveled very much in the last 5 years, and if you're just leaving for a short visit, then there's generally not an issue with traveling while the N400 is pending. Of course, just make sure that someone is getting your mail and will advise you if you get scheduled for a biometrics appointment or for an interview. But there's generally no issue with travel. Okay. All right. Let me see what other questions I have. And if you have questions, you can type your questions in either English or Spanish, and I'll try to answer as many as I can. So puede poner sus preguntas en inglés o en español y puedo tratar de contestar más preguntas que puedo. Y recuerda que en este tipo de situación, contestando esas preguntas en vivo, con poquito de información, solamente puedo dar información en general sobre la ley de inmigración. No puedo dar una opinión legal sobre su caso específico porque realmente siempre necesito saber más información para dar una opinión legal completo. Pero puedo tratar de dar más información que puedo aquí. Si quieren más información sobre su caso específico, una opinión legal formalmente, debe llamarnos para programar una consulta conmigo. Y podemos hablar más detalles sobre su caso. Nuestro número de teléfono es 772-539-8400 si quiere programar una consulta. Ok, Jassy, mi esposo ya tiene el perdón aprobado, más de 1 año que lo aprobaron, pero con lo de la pandemia, ¿cuánto se está tardando? Si el perdón está aprobado, el próximo paso normalmente, después del perdón, si está hablando sobre el perdón provisional, el próximo paso es para mandar todos los documentos que requiere el Centro Nacional de Visas para preparar el caso para la entrevista. Si usted hizo eso y ellos confirmaron que sí tiene todo y está en la línea por la entrevista, el tiempo que va a tardar depende en el consulado que va a tener el caso. Para dar un ejemplo, y todos los consulados, los países son diferentes, pero para dar un ejemplo, por México, antes de empezar todo con la pandemia, estuve tardando como 1 año más después de todo estuve listo para la entrevista. Después que el Centro Nacional de Visas confirme que sí tiene todo, estuve tardando 1 año más hasta que ellos mandaron una cita por la entrevista en Ciudad Juárez. Ahorita que el consulado estuve cerrado por todos esos meses, probablemente va a tardar mucho más, pero realmente cuánto tiempo no sabemos. Tenemos que esperar para ver si es por otro país. Todo depende del país. A veces unos países solamente tardan meses después que todo está listo con el Centro Nacional de Visas, pero especialmente ahorita con la pandemia, sí va a tardar más tiempo en todos los consulados en todos los países. Es realmente muy difícil para decir exactamente cuánto tiempo. Okay, y Alicia, can I apply for Daca now even if I have an open case with immigration already? So in general, there's usually not an issue with filing more than one different type of case at the same time. So of course, I would want to know a little bit more about what type of case do you have, kind of to see what is the best option for you. But in general, that would be okay. If you did not have DACA before, you cannot apply right now because they're not accepting new applications right now. But we're hoping that within the next week, we'll have a court decision which will hopefully say that new DACA applications have to be accepted again. But we're still waiting to get that confirmation. And as soon as I have that, I will definitely share it on all of my social media, on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. But as of right now, new DACA applications are not being accepted yet. but hopefully very, very soon. Okay, Dale, Dale Mactoto. Can I process a K1 for my fiance and petition to get my mom at the same time? Yes, there is no problem with filing petitions for more than one person at the same time. So I don't see any issue with that. You can definitely do that. Okay, let me see what other questions I have. Okay, and you can post questions that you have in either English or Spanish, and I can try to answer as many as I can. And Alex Rodriguez, I see your comment. I need to make an appointment. Okay, call us tomorrow. Call us and schedule your appointment. 772-539-8400, and we'd be happy to talk and see what we can do to help you. All right, and Kevin Garcia, is it true that they're going to raise the price of the green card? So yes, many of the immigration applications, the prices are going up. They were actually supposed to go up October 2nd. But there was a court order, an injunction that happened right before the prices went up, and the price changes were stopped. Right now, we do not know when the prices are actually going to go up. We're waiting to get some confirmation on that. I guess that injunction could technically be lifted at any time, and the prices could go up. But so far, we have not heard anything. But yes, prices will be changing. All right. Yaguero Ortiz, my boyfriend is currently getting divorced in Mexico. Can we get married in the U.S. right now, or do we have to wait? No, you have to wait until he's officially divorced. If you get married in the U.S. and he is still legally married in Mexico, then your U.S. marriage will not be valid. So you have to wait until he gets divorced, because if you marry and he's still married there, and you try to file any type of immigration paperwork based on that marriage, then it's all going to be denied, because immigration is going to say that your marriage was not valid because he was still married to someone else. So do not do that. I have actually seen this many times. I've seen it many times where people have done it by mistake, where they thought that they were divorced and they actually were not. I've seen other situations where people thought that because the marriage was in another country that it doesn't count here, and that is not true. It does not matter where you are married, whatever country you are married in. If you come to the U.S., that marriage still counts. And in order to marry someone else, you need to get divorced, because the U.S. does not allow people to be married to more than one person at the same time. So U.S. immigration law does not accept that. So I've had many situations where I had to have uncomfortable conversations with clients and potential clients and tell them that they were not legally married, that they needed to divorce their ex and then remarry. And it is not something that I like to deal with, and you definitely do not want to have to deal with that with your boyfriend. So you need to wait until his divorce is final. Okay, I know that might not be what you wanted to hear, but that's what you need to do so that you don't have a big mess and find out that you're not really married. Okay. All right, and I will answer a few more questions, and then I will probably be done for the night. Voy a contestar unas preguntas más. So si tiene algunas preguntas, puede escribir sus preguntas en inglés o español y puedo tratar de contestar todas sus preguntas. Si hizo una pregunta y no contestó todavía, puede poner su pregunta de nuevo, porque quizás no vio su pregunta. If you have any questions that I have not answered, then you can write your question again, because I'm getting a lot of questions and I may not have seen it. So if you write your question again, then I can try to answer for you. Okay, Yagira, is there a waiting time before we can get married, or can we get married right away when he gets divorced? There is no waiting period. As soon as he is legally divorced and you know that the divorce is final, then you can get married. So there's no problem with that. I mean, the only type of waiting period that there may be is that in some states, when you go and apply for the marriage license, you may have to wait a few days before you can officially get married. For example, in Florida, from the day that you apply for the marriage license and the marriage license is issued by the clerk, there's a 3-day waiting period. So after you get that license, you have to wait 3 days and then you can get married. So just depending on what state you're in, there may be a brief waiting time after getting the marriage license. But as soon as he's officially divorced, then you can go ahead and start that process of getting married. All right, and Phoenix Rising, when into the residency should you start filing for citizenship? So if you got your residency based on marriage to a U.S. citizen, you're still married and living together, then generally you have to wait 3 years to apply for citizenship as long as you meet all of the other requirements. If you did not, if you're not married to a U.S. citizen, then the general rule is 5 years after you obtain your after you obtain your residency is when you can apply for citizenship. And technically for either one of those, you can actually file 3 months prior to qualifying. So it's actually 2 years and 9 months or 4 years, 9 months. All right, let me see what else, what other questions I have here. Ok, me casé y sí, pregúntale Miguel. Me casé y metí aplicación para mi esposo desde enero y aún no llega ningún papel, solo el recibo. So, si estaba hablando sobre la I-130, eso es normal, porque normalmente por la I-130 está tardando más de un año. Hay unas aplicaciones que sí están aprobadas más rápido, pero en general está tardando como un año. So, eso es normal. Si está hablando sobre otro tipo de caso, como la aplicación por la residencia, el 485, inmigración debe programarlo él también por una cita para huellas, para biométricos. Pero si es solamente la petición, eso es normal, so no debe preocupar. All right, and thank you, X. All right, yo pienso que eso... déjame ver, tengo unas preguntas más de Facebook. All right, Vanessa, I see your question. How does it work when they're hold for immigration? How much time do they give you for them to get there? 48 hours or 72 hours? And if they don't show up, can he be released? So the way that the immigration hold works is either from the time that their case is finished, which of course would take a while before they see the judge and go through the court process and probably enter a plea, or from the time that the bond is paid. So basically from the time that the county does not have control of the person anymore, that is when the time starts for the immigration hold, which is 48 hours. But this is 48 hours of regular working days, Monday through Friday. So it does not include weekends or holidays. So for example, if they pay the bond tomorrow, Friday at 12 p.m., let's say, the first 24 hours would not technically be completed until Monday at 12 p.m. And then Tuesday at 12 p.m. would technically be when the time is up. So of course that's much more than 48 hours, but it's because it's including the weekend. So it's only 48 hours during business days, Monday through Friday. And if they do not show up, yes, he can be released. But I need to know more information about his case. Maybe I can try to help him. Sometimes we have been successful convincing immigration to release the holds, but it really depends on the details of his case. So I would need to know a little bit more about him and see if there's something that I can do to help him. If not, then once they pick him up, they would take him usually down to West Palm Beach first to process him. And then from there, ICE will decide at that point, once they review his case, whether they're going to actually put him in a detention center or if they're going to decide to release him just with a notice to appear in immigration proceedings, which luckily, because of COVID, that is happening more often lately, but it really would be best for me to know more about his situation first, and then I could give you guys a better idea of what would happen. And also I may be able to reach out to immigration on his behalf and see if there's anything that we can do to try to avoid detention for him. All right, and Vanessa Martinez, all right, is it the same process for an alien to file for papers even though they have a valid social? So yes, I'm assuming you may be referring to someone who has a valid social maybe from many years ago. I know back in the 90s it was much easier to get a social security number without any immigration documentation. So that may be what you're referring to, or that they had another type of process. But yes, it's typically still going to be the same process to apply for the residency, whether they have a social or not. And as far as you being located in Los Angeles and being able to help, yes, we can still help you. I have clients in California, New York, Virginia. I have clients all throughout the country. We can do most things, which, I mean, even we're doing now with our local clients. We do most things right now because of the pandemic by phone. We do video meetings through Zoom. We do a lot of things by mail. So that's no problem. It does not matter where you live. We can help you. Of course, if there was going to be an interview in your case, depending on your situation, or if you have a case in removal proceedings, then obviously I would have to travel to do that or try to appear by phone. But there's no problem. I represent clients from all over the country, and I'm able to do that because immigration is federal law. Most attorneys that do state law, like criminal law, family law, they can only represent clients in states that they're licensed in. But immigration is very different because immigration is a federal practice. We are federal attorneys. We can practice anywhere throughout the country. Okay, Vanessa, that's great. So if you, and Vanessa Martinez, sorry, because I have two Vanessas commenting here. Yeah, I mean, we'd be happy to look in to see what we can do to help your father-in-law. So if you want to call us, we can schedule a consultation. We can go over all of his situation and see what the best option is to help him. All right, and of course, you should see my number on the screen, but it's 772-539-8400. So you can call us tomorrow if you want to schedule a consultation. You can also send us a text, and we will call you back when we're in the office, or you can send us a message with your phone number, and we'll get in touch with you to get an appointment scheduled and see what we can do for him. Okay, and I think this is going to be all for tonight. I will probably be on live again at some point tomorrow answering questions. But again, for anyone that wants a consultation directly with me to really get a legal opinion about your situation, then you can call our office to schedule a consultation at 772-539-8400. And just like I was explaining to Vanessa, you can also send us a text message. You can send us a message on Facebook or Instagram, and we can help you get that appointment scheduled, okay? But I will also be on live regularly answering general questions. So you can always come ask your questions when I'm live. But if you really want a legal opinion about your specific situation, then it's much better to schedule a consultation. All right. Sí, yo pienso que eso va a ser todo para hoy, pero siempre si quiere programar una consulta conmigo, si quiere una consulta por como opinión legal sobre su caso, puede llamarnos para programar una consulta. Puede llamarnos al 772-539-8400. También puede mandarnos un mensaje de texto a ese mismo número. Puede mandarnos mensajes en Facebook o Instagram y podemos contestar y ayudarle a programar la cita. Pero también estoy en vivo contestando preguntas ahorita casi todos los días. So, siempre puede venir para hacer sus preguntas cuando vea que estoy contestando preguntas en vivo. Y también cada miércoles a las 5 de la tarde de Eastern Time, de nosotros de Florida, siempre voy a estar en vivo cada miércoles a las 5. Pero todos los otros días normalmente a 1 hora sí estoy en vivo contestando preguntas, pero recuerda que aquí solamente puedo contestar preguntas en general. Si quiere programar una consulta por una opinión legal sobre su caso, debe llamarnos para programar una consulta al 772-539-8400. Ok, eso tenga buena noche y quizás voy a ver a ustedes mañana.